Hi, everybody. It's Janet Eichorst and Jill Renee Feeler here for episode 30 of our podcast series. Hi, Jill. How are you?
Hi, Janet. How are you? I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good today. So, we actually made a commitment, I think, at the end of 29 about what we were going to talk about. We were discussing susceptibility. And I was thinking about it because, wow, I don't go looking for problems in my life. Right. So, as we talk about and bring forward this topic, I just want to kind of put that out there from the get go. It's not like we want people or I want people to start looking at how they're susceptible. What I really would like to invite people to do is become more aware of what's operating in their life, of what's not working. You're like, I just wait, that relationship is not working. What's happening here? And then examining whether or not you're in old patterns or old belief systems or thinking somebody is somebody they're not and acting and treating them as if they are your parents or whatever. The patterning of it, the pattern of it, and where, because we're so, I want to say, predictable in a lot of ways. The things that are running on the unconscious continue to run unconsciously. And that's a level of awareness that we're really inviting people to step into and pay attention.
I hope this is going to be as fun as I think it will. What you just said right there, that susceptibility operates from layers of ourselves that are unconscious. And the words that I would add to your great words are it's when we allow ourselves to see ourselves more clearly, right? So I like your words stepping into it. And I
Mm.
would add the words for others that maybe, just connect on a different level. If they don't know what stepping into it means, that's fine. I love stepping into it and I step into things all the time, hopefully good things. But I feel like I can have blinders on about stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, what just happened in this situation? And I like wasn't in my sovereignty, or I really did not utilize my own personal empowerment or authority, and I really trusted someone too much, or my normal skepticism and rationality was somehow turned off, like with that person or in that situation. What is that about? Do I remember correctly from 29 that this topic was raised related to a timeshare conversation?
Yes.
It's such a good one. Can you imagine if you're going to be in sales, in a sales profession, and some of us would never want to be in sales, and some of us are actually in sales. We just don't want to look at ourselves that way because salespersonship has some negative connotations to it, right? But if you are a business owner and you are doing your own marketing and you're selling yourself and your services, trust me, you are in sales. Okay. But if you are going to be a professional salesperson selling somebody else's things, can you imagine picking, okay, I'm going to go when people are on vacation. I'm going to go when there's a free breakfast or a free lunch and there's cocktails flowing. I'm going to sell high priced items that my success rate, my hit rate may be very low, but I don't have to sell that many to pay my bills, right? That is a timeshare person.
Yes.
And we are
Um,
vulnerable. We are much
oh,
more susceptible on a holiday. Our guards are down, right? Some people have never been to a timeshare presentation. And if it's a really good salesperson and it's actually a really good property and they actually have some attractive, um, flexible offers where they can just keep tailoring it based on your resistance, even if you're very savvy and immune to timeshare presentations, there are people that walk out of those free breakfasts and free lunch owning a timeshare.
well, because that's what I was sharing. That's what happened to me. And in my particular case, it was we ended up, I don't even remember where the timeshare was, right? This was a long time ago, but we were in this room and there were like round tables and there were
Yeah.
balloons everywhere and people you would hear champagne bottles popping when people
That's
You can
intentional.
do it.
It's all
And
intentional.
it just was, like, fun, like, "Oh my gosh, I
Party.
wanna pop the champagne bottle," and it kind of it was targeted to all
Totally.
those things that really are fun.
Yes. Your guard is going down and down and down. And psychologically, there are a lot of different subtle and not so subtle um, tools that are used by very well trained salespeople. Some people are natural salespeople; they're just super charming, and they
Mhm.
may make it personal by saying, "Yeah, you guys might be I might get the record this month if or this week if you guys buy from me," and you like them, and you're like, "Well, I want Jimmy to get the award, don't you?" Come on, we can come up with $5,000. What's $5,000 or whatever it is? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and again, this happened when we were talking at the end of 29 too. I was thinking about social media and the algorithms,
Oh,
and I remember talking to a friend of mine who kind of studied those, and we were at some social event, and she started telling me some of the details about how it's so scientific and how they've studied the brain and they know exactly down to the fractions of seconds about when to do this or what to say. And I literally had to stop the conversation. I was like, "Whoa." This is a bit overwhelming for me and I'm in a social situation, right? And I really process that, but that is how our society, when you look at marketing, when you look at, and I'm not saying people don't do this with integrity, because Jill and I are very much about, integritous action, whatever that means for you personally. But wow, we're all under the influence of people trying to get us to do certain things.
mm,
And the only way that I know of is to be aware of what's happening inside of me and have some sort of, I'll say, system set up, some sort of checks and balances, knowing where in the past I've made decisions that I regretted later, including the timeshare purchase.
yeah. I feel like one of the points you're making is know your areas, and I added people and environments in terms of when you find yourself to be the most susceptible. I think we'll give a lot of examples in this, and I'm okay with that. I hope other people are too, so that they're really gravitating to this. Jeff, my husband and I, we are not good lookers at houses. We fall in love with beautiful homes really, really easily, and we were switching houses like every 2 years. And we
Mhm.
were making money on every one of them. But in the span of especially at the early part of our marriage, before we thought we didn't want to have any children. I've talked about that story before and other things. But anyway, so we were like, oh, this is fun. You work hard, I work hard. We've got the money. We're on this parade of homes. And every year, we were like, we should do this. We can't look at homes. We decided we cannot go to Parade of Homes. We can't casually shop for cars. We are just too we enjoy those things too much, and we are too susceptible to it's every you can always find something better than what you have. And that isn't even the issue, right? So we get to anyway, so that's our susceptibility, so we can't shop for homes. So now I
Wow,
think it's funny that now I sell homes.
that's very interesting. Hmm. Wow, good example. I think about how I know I'm susceptible to groupthink, which which somebody in my position, being an energy worker, now granted, is that still true to the degree that it was? I don't think so. And, especially in my early years of my being committed to my, spiritual evolutionary process, I recognize that. And I think it's because I'm just so aware of the energetics in the room.
Can you give an
And
example before you go further? I just want a visual of like, what is it? Was it like a coaching package? Was it a healing training certification? Like, I would love
um
more
It's kind of like a way I tune in. It's almost like in any group, I can get a sense of the group, and then I'll start thinking like the group thinks,
Okay.
quite literally, because I energetically tune in automatically. Like it's just to something about my
It's
level
not
of
about a specific example, it's just a
I mean,
situational thing. And I would say empaths are very likely to
very
resonate
much.
with what you're saying. Yeah.
Holy cow. I mean, well, the timeshare was the biggest one because that was such a I mean, it was so out of character for me, my behavior was to purchase that. And it was so well done in terms of influence. But I even think, like, in any sort of group thinking, I'm trying to think, like, if there's a group doing a certain thing, I was like, "Oh, that sounds good," even if it's, like, completely out of what I
Mhm.
typically like to do or what I know is healthy for me or any of the criteria I use for how I choose activities.
Thank you. Okay. That brings it more into, yeah, I appreciate that detail. And I'm sure people can relate to what you're saying.
And it really serves when I think about it more detailed, and empaths for sure because, hello. Um, when I think about when I'm in a group situation because I can feel what the of what's going on in the room or with
Mhm.
the people. I mean, everybody has this to a certain extent. Like you walk
Mhm.
into a room and you're like, "Whoa, I'm getting out of here," right? Like I just don't like the vibe, right? But that is definitely one of my susceptibilities, and so I've amped up my awareness, and there's certain places I just won't go, and there's certain places if I go, I wanna take somebody with me, and that's kind of my a touchstone, so to speak, with people.
I'm just thinking about the telesummit world, which some people will be very aware of, and some people experiencing this podcast, this episode, will probably have no idea what we're talking about. But the telesummit community is an online free conversation, and then there's a sales pitch at the end. And it's almost like some people might be more familiar with like a telethon, like a local public television thing, and they have a telethon. And well,
Mm,
Sally just called and $100, thanks, Sally. And everybody's like, I want them to say my name. You know what I mean? So there is a part of that telesummit, like, yeah, but I don't think they actually, I think they should do that because now that I think about it, they don't do that. And I think it would actually add to the sales. If
mm,
I'm looking at it from their business model perspective, I think that would really improve sales because they're not tracking those. It's more of a delayed effect.
mhm, yeah. Well, and I can listen to telesummits and I think buying in general, like, if
Hmm.
people make a really good case, I can see how beneficial it is what somebody's offering,
Mm,
and then the check to see whether it's fitting for me or not, that's the thing where I have to give myself some space. And if you look at how many, pressure tactics there are in sales in general, "If you do it today, only," and that drives me nuts because I can't participate in that way because it's sometimes I know things that I wanna do, and
yeah,
sometimes I don't,
I
but I
know.
can see the value in it, and I can feel also how much somebody believes in it
Yeah,
sometimes, and their authenticity in it and the purity of what they're offering. Now that
yeah.
doesn't mean it's fitting for me.
Thank you for saying that. And you'd already, made it clear, and I'm right next to you and with you on this. People that, if there is someone that is selling something that does have a bonus offer with a limited time, Janet and I are not saying that they're automatically inauthentic and a scammer, et cetera. But everything should be weighted individually and assessed individually. But Janet, I did an offer with
Mm,
those hooks in it. And I was working with somebody that kind of taught me how to present an offer in that way. And he was basically saying, you just want to make it an offer that somebody can't refuse, Jill. So we already know your qualities there, but this program that you've created is going to reach so many more people and it was a long checklist. And I was almost wanting to vomit at times, going, I don't want to sell this way. I don't want to have a bonus offer. I don't want to have a cart that opens, on a certain day and then closes, or we only have 100. And I was just like, this feels so gross. But part of me was like, I'm curious enough to see if this would work.
Mm,
Janet, I was very pleasantly surprised and also really disappointed. It worked. My sales were 10 times what I've sold in my best telesummit offerings. I mean, I'm still shocked. It was a lot of work to set up that whole system that would do that. Creating the offer, that's what I'm the best at. But the selling part, I'm like, well, I mean, I create new content literally all the time. So I'm like, I could just keep using that model, but I didn't like it. And some of my community was more like you. They were like, oh, I know what you're doing here. You're doing the 5 free videos, and then you're going to have the card open, and then you're going to, and I was like, yep, but this isn't rocket science. I'm not trying to, create a new rocket type here. But I'm curious to see if it will encourage more people to say yes to something I really believe in. But I guess my testimony here, in a way, is that marketers use it and you see it all the time because it works. There
mm,
are people that would always say yes to my programs and they say yes to that. And there were other people that would be on the fence and they jumped in and said yes. I didn't have any returns. And I had a good return window, if I remember correctly, from that. Because I don't want to trap anybody in. I don't want anybody to be part of my work that's like, I'm not even going to call in. I don't care anymore. Or this wasn't good, or you oversold it, or whatever. But no, the quality of it and the reviews from it, people still, it's one of their favorite programs. Anyway, it works. That's why people do it, you guys. It's so sad. Why are we
mm,
that way?
mm. That's very interesting because I'm thinking of a friend of mine. I'll have to sit with this and see if this has ever happened to me. But she bought, I want to say, a very expensive coaching program.
Mm.
And she wasn't going to do it. And it was the fifth email, the sixth email, the seventh email where she finally said yes. And she was happy that she did it.
Oh, okay, good.
So there's something that's true for a group of people too, that whatever's preventing them from really stepping into something that may be very helpful for them, whatever their shutdown mechanisms, whatever that is, whatever their no is, it can override that.
Yeah. It makes me think about the idea that a bad purchase decision, like a bad idea that you said yes to, can happen impulsively. It can also happen after years of research. And a great decision that, oh my God, I'm so glad I did that, could happen impulsively, and it could happen after years of research. This isn't about the timing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it always comes back to what kind of mechanisms, what kind of process do I use, and where are my weaknesses in making decisions that I regret later?
Yes.
And the more aware I am of those, the better, the happier I'm going to be. And even where my resistance lies.
Mm.
I mean, there's things in my life that I just resist doing. And it's about stepping out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we've talked, a lot about I'd like to stay on the cutting edge. And then there's also this part of me that wants to stay in my comfort zone, right? And so I'm always, not always, but that comes up and that's something for me to address. So
Hmm.
I've got to have some mechanism for myself
Yeah.
to whatever that is. I mean, I talk to people, I have trusted people in my circle. I write about it. I pay attention so much to what
Hmm.
my patterns are when I learn stuff about myself,
Yeah.
about where where I was like, "Wow, I could have done better there." Pay attention. It's like, "Wow, I just did that again, didn't I?" Hmm. And in most cases, I've stayed lighthearted about it because that judgment piece, I mean, wow, that's the one that'll take people down quicker than anything in terms of feeling badly about life in general, yourself, hating the world. Judgment is so
It's so big. Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, I would encourage our audience to really let yourself be a bit more unguarded just with yourself in what were some situations where you were susceptible, where you said yes or you agreed to something that you would normally not agree to, and in hindsight are like, you know what, I wish I wouldn't have done that. What did I turn into in that moment where I said yes to something or agreed to something? What was that? Some of us are better at letting ourselves step into, to use your words, that see those layers of ourselves. Some people are just like, that's a closet, I'm shutting it, I never want to go back there. But there's so many opportunities for growth and self-reflection and self-awareness and improvement by letting yourself just, even if you set a timer, I'm going to go into that icky space where I sometimes it's a relationship. How did I not see that they were a total manipulator or they were a total narcissist? How did that escape me, right? By letting yourself be with it, you could perhaps open yourself to really, really powerful, empowering insights. You guys, you don't have to go back to the pain. Janet and I have talked about that in earlier episodes. All you're doing is going into the current version of you, fact based reflection. And okay, what was that? Because as I'm doing that now with myself, I'm noticing 3 people I've said yes to, they flattered me, they complimented me. I am very susceptible to flattery. When someone says, wow, like your content is amazing, I could really help you grow your audience. I could really help you reach new people with this incredible work. I'm like, thank you. My guard is not up. My guard
Mhm.
is down because I feel seen. I feel like my purpose and relevance is acknowledged. And excuse me, some ego stroking there that apparently I like. But what I realize is I don't even have to know whether they really thought my content was good or not. It's not even about that. It's did I give myself enough reflection on what they were saying they could help me with was authentic? And what did their solution for me or offer for me require of me? And was I really willing to do that?
Mhm.
Because sometimes it requires effort, it requires change, it requires investment, maybe any combination of those. But anyway, I just gave that as another example. But I definitely see it with health and wellness that people are when you're struggling physically with some sort of ailment or something that you want to finally remedy and resolve, we are very susceptible when we believe somebody actually has finally an effing answer for us.
Mhm.
I mean, what does your supplement cabinet look like? Because there were a few years where I had some crazy shit in my cabinets of like, I don't even know what this is anymore. But I don't think it did what I thought it would do when I said yes to the whatever, whatever. I can't. And then the whole like, well, the doctors, they just sell stuff you can't even pronounce. Well, I'm telling you, those were some very, I think, high end, high quality supplements. I couldn't pronounce that stuff either, guys. Hate to break it to you.
Such a great example, and wow, because I know so what kind of situation or state
Yeah.
allows that, right? So it's fear. There's fear in there,
Need,
right?
lack of
Need?
answers, lack of solutions. I have a
Mhm.
need I can't solve. Who can fix it for me? Which is not a bad
Exactly.
thing. That's normal. That's humanity.
Yes, but it's when I'm not aware of it and where my own discernment mechanism is not active,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
And that's, like, crucial. I wanted to, kinda circle back around here. I'm thinking about, people that just and I can't think of the expression, "Oh, it's just meant to be." Like, if it's, people just kinda rationalize everything, it's like, what's the expression? It's escaping me at the moment, but it's a very common
Everything happens for a reason.
yes, everything happens for a reason, thank
Yeah.
you. And that prevents a lot of opportunities to see things that could catapult me into a whole nother level of living and happiness and just super cool life.
Yeah.
And and it doesn't mean that I don't look at, relational energetics about why things happen. But a lot of times it's like, what level am I looking at it in? And I could go down a whole rabbit hole with this, and I'm not going to. But but if you are saying to yourself, everything happens for a reason, just give yourself a pause. It doesn't mean anything necessarily. But if there's any sort of level of denying something about yourself that's here, just check it, right? Have I done this a million times before? Is this Am I living in a way that I wanna live? Am I rationalizing? There's so many ways that I could prevent myself from having the quality of the life that I wanna have by living underneath the illusion of
Mhm.
that statement.
That's so big. Thank you so much for bringing this up, Janet, because when we are under, I would say that's sort of like a spell, a belief can be a spell, right? And I'm fine with an empowering belief, but a disempowering belief is not great. And I would offer that the notion, the belief that everything happens for a reason is a belief and it's a spell
Mm,
that can deprive us of more self awareness, deeper self reflection, and really more honesty and authenticity with ourselves, right?
mm, completely.
It's so huge. And it is in the theme of empowerment and literally feeling like you have more authority over yourself. That's important in this world because even if somebody is certain and is very beautifully, good-hearted about, I know I have the answer for you. They might, but it might not be the only answer for you. And the answer, the benefit or the solution you're trying to search for and be open to may not cost you $5,000. Right? Getting in shape does not require a personal trainer, you guys.
Mhm,
It's choices about food in your kitchen. It may not even involve expensive supplements. We make things harder because the solutions seem complicated and the
mhm.
need is real.
Yeah, I wanna just really sit with this with people and literally open awareness here for everybody, especially around health.
Mm, so big.
Y Because I don't care whether you're talking allopathic, traditional medicine, whether you're talking about alternative, complementary medicine, integrative medicine. The solution that is presented may not be the one
Yeah.
that's appropriate for me. And I am a huge believer, and I do this in my work all the time and personally, about getting to the core of where something starts. And a lot of these modalities treat symptomology.
And even the ones that are more functional medicine is a term that I really like for the ones that are trying to get at the root cause. Even even in that experience, you may find false promises, false hope, and expensive solutions, and a high degree of susceptibility by you. And that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. That means the problem is complicated.
And I think, like, sort of the best guidance, if that's even the word I want to use here, but what's worked very effectively for me is my inner knowing is and my relationship with spirit, the essence of God that flows through me as me, is the most valuable resource that I have,
Mm,
hands down.
okay.
And there's people that I know, I'm not asking them necessarily to tell me the answer.
Hmm.
I'm asking them to reflect back to me if they see any of my shit in the way.
Hmm.
right? Because if they know kind of my operational patterns that
Yeah.
especially have been ineffective in the past,
Right.
right? They have a particular ability to notice things and reflect things back to me that I can't see.
Yeah.
And I know there's something that happens with me when I get, in, I'll call it like a mini panic,
Hmm.
and I just want something to I just want a solution, I just wanna be okay, and I'll overreact a bit, and I need to take a few more breaths. I need to kind of let my neurological system calm down a bit,
Hmm.
see where my faith really lies, and sometimes that means coming to terms with death,
Hmm.
quite literally, and it's amazing how many things my mind creates that I think will kill me.
Yeah.
Something will happen, and I was like, "Oh, that's gonna take me out," and
Really?
the
Um,
stretch there is big, right?
that's such a great additional example because those that are very susceptible to the health crisis, a health issue becoming a crisis or being a crisis before we like just let the headache be a headache and that you're dehydrated or low in magnesium or something versus it's definitely a brain tumor. And I'm not saying you do that, but I totally know. And there's a term for it, hypochondria, right? Not
Right.
just to put a sticker on it, but there's a reason
Yeah.
there's that term because some people are really quick to go there. So, what a great additional example of susceptibility.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
I think too the medical field because there is so much wow, I'm gonna take a leap here and use the word misinformation, and that word has been thrown around, and I'm gonna use it very purposefully here, and it's in the form I'm using it
Yeah.
is that, in a way that people are deceptive,
Mm. Oh, the
you know?
deception part of all this is just so, it's so disheartening. It's so sad, especially when you like someone. When
Yeah.
you really do like a person that invented something or whatever, and or somebody that's selling it to you, or somebody, even a friend that recommended it to you, like, I know this is going to work for you. And then it doesn't for whatever reason. It's just like, well, did they lie to me? Did they know it wouldn't work for me? Did they really is was it malevolent? Was it benevolent? What, and then we try to dissect what went wrong. And it could just be that it could be a whole bunch of things. And the main outcome is it didn't work for you. What do you want to do with that information? No, Jill, it has to work. I definitely know people like that. No, Jill, you don't understand. I mean, like my back pain is so severe I can't get out of bed. This surgery has to work. And I'm just like, but what if it doesn't? What if it's overall inflammation in your body? And what if you're eating all of these what if you're eating all these different things that are literally causing inflammation in your body? And that's 80% of the pain. Surgery isn't going to fix that. Right? So again, there's those blinders. No,
Yeah.
they're the expert, Jill. They have to have the answer because I have to have a solution.
So that level of attachment and I just have such compassion, I just wanna put a big old warm hug out to anybody that's struggling in
Ugh,
any way, shape, or form about any decision around their health, around relationships, because,
yeah.
I just know how challenging it can be because I'm on this earth just like everybody else, right? When people say, "This worked for me and it's gotta work for you," and there's some sort of, attachment here, right? There's some sort of attachment to it or projection. People are
Yeah.
like a lot of times what they're saying is, "It worked really well for me." And you can't go from, "It worked well for me, it's gotta work well for you."
Yeah.
That's not a guaranteed thing. It is not, and there's so many factors. We could talk for 3 hours on the different factors involved in that and longer.
Yeah.
So it's very important to pay attention and to be okay with saying, "No, thank you, I will consider that." Like, just get your wordsmithing a little bit more prepared
Yeah.
especially when you're around people, that like to do that. And the other thing I wanted to say is around experts.
Mm.
Medicine in itself is a practice. People practice medicine. Practice. There's no absolutism in that. None. Now, granted, if somebody's, arm is cut off, we obviously know that's a problem, right? When they're not connected. That's a very clear cut, that's problematic. But there's so many factors involved in wellness,
Yeah.
involved in healing, and the things that we thought 50 years ago, we're now like, wow, not true.
Yeah. When you were talking about you offering an energetic hug to other people, I would also invite people, give yourself a hug, because Janet, what you're describing here is so real, in terms of the so-called experts, whether it's of any discipline, you guys, traditional medicine, non-traditional medicine, expertise is about, they are trained in something, but you are one of a kind. And your system might be something they've never seen before, right? And doesn't fit in the data of what you put this peg in this hole, and then it's all better. You know what I mean? So it might be more complicated. So giving yourself a hug for any of those areas where you're like, I just wanted to believe it was true. It's give yourself the compassion that you deserve. You weren't trying to, be silly or stupid or thoughtless or, tricked. You weren't trying to do anything negative for yourself. It just didn't go the way you wanted. So give
Mhm.
yourself that grace, right? And to add to the compassion for the people that are the so-called experts or are sure they have what will work for you, my sense is with at least a good portion of them, they really want you to get the answer you want. So even if it's, I mean, some of the people that I know that are like doTERRA sales reps, they are very confident that they have exactly what they need from doTERRA for any ailment almost on the planet, it seems. And all I when I find it personally annoying sometimes. Underneath it, I feel a passion. I feel a conviction in a benevolent way, and I feel a desire to help others. I do. I definitely it did. I don't have to look hard to find that, right?
Mhm.
But where is the space for authority of the other person? Now, I really think that this will work for you. If you want more information, let me know. I'm very excited for you to get a result, and it could be that this is it, right? That's such a different approach to offering something without assuming authority over their choices, right? To go down that medical route, there were so many times when I wish I would have been in the room with my mom and some of the medical decisions that she made over the past 4 years. I was like, well, wait, what? And I mean, I could just energetically sense that they were just trying to throw spaghetti on the wall at some point because they didn't know what to do to help her. Right? And sometimes it was an intense thing and sometimes it wasn't. So the risk seemed low of her saying yes, but sometimes I'm like, "Wait, what are you doing? You're." Yeah, anyway, I don't want to make it too personal about my mama. But it's just that susceptibility. I know
Mm.
what she went in and said, and I can imagine these very well-trained professionals were like, "I want to help her too. I wonder if this would work. I wonder if that would work." And how much of this is psychosomatic? I'm sorry, but traditional medicine and non-traditional medicine is also dealing with the mind over matter part of ourselves. And
Mhm.
that's very mysterious.
Yeah.
Placebos sometimes do better than the clinical drug trials.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
reason is because there's a positive aspect of susceptibility. Give a band aid to a kid. There's no reason the pain should go away when a band aid, especially a cute little princess or cute little cars, something Steve or whatever band aid goes on that wound. But it's like, I trust this person. This band aid looks like a solution. I'm good now.
Yeah. Yeah, you said some really, wonderful things there. Wow. So, two things I want to bring up here. Pay attention to when whoever is giving you information, if you have a sense that they don't know what they're talking about, that
Oh.
they're grasping, right?
How
Pay
would you find
attention.
that out? How would you find that out? Give us tools, Janet.
Sit back and breathe,
Mm.
you know?
Questions.
Questions, bring somebody with you that's not affected by it. Um, Ask directly. How many times have you ever been in a situation like this with this problem and these conditions? Right? That's a very direct way of saying, "Have you been here before?" And if they say, "No." And there's really good medical professionals out there that will be honest in that way, but it takes a certain level of humility, and that's not typical for everybody in the medical field, I'll say.
I don't listen to podcasts like ours. We're very self-aware and evolved and have a good amount of operational humility and on board.
And it's a fair thing to say, I feel like we're grasping for straws here.
Mm.
Honesty done in a place of love can open up possibilities like nothing that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that basically gives a doctor who may be just as frustrated and maybe his or her self-esteem stuff is up because he has nothing to give and wants to so desperately and has nothing
And a
grasping
healer and a chiropractor, you guys put anybody in that statement because it all fits.
anybody. The other thing I wanted to add here about susceptibility is desperation.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
So check your desperation level. And that right there, and I suggest that you do this before you go to any
Yeah.
practitioners, just put it on the list. It's like, do I think that do I think there's not a solution for me? I can't tell you how many times I was like, wow, I don't believe there's anything out there that will help me.
Mhm.
Wow. That sets a foundation that is unbelievably challenging to get overridden. It affects everything. So when I get back to that, and sometimes maybe the medical condition has to play itself out, whatever that is. I mean, I've got a situation, I've been debating if I'm going to share this. I've got a cyst on my back that, has been there for a long time. And it is talking to me these days and it's
It's very
doing all kinds of,
painful.
it's painful.
Okay.
And have I gone to the doctor? I have not. Have I been treated? I have. And, so I'm in this situation right now where I wonder if I'm going to die. It's right along my spine.
Mm.
I wonder, and I keep get to come back to my own level of God consciousness, whatever you want to call that. That's the most trustworthy thing that I know of ever. And if I'm desperate to try this, to buy new things, to go out, I know, I don't need to take antibiotics for this. If I went to my medical doctor, they would throw out and I can't do that. I know that I
Might
can't.
not, right? It's possible that they might not, but they might.
They
You could
might.
hear that. I'm kind of
Yes.
playing it with you, right?
Well,
Because
yeah.
it's a
Here we go.
thank you for being vulnerable and sharing this very specific example.
Yeah.
It's like, is there, there's no solution to, there might be a solution. And maybe the first, I need information. What
Yes.
does this person say it is? What does that person say it is?
Yeah.
Who's training, whose answer to me and my gut feels like, well, that makes sense.
Yes.
Because I'm constantly sometimes because I do see regular doctors and I do see healers. There
Yes.
are times when the answer they're giving me, like to your point, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, either they're explaining it badly or literally they're trying to put a square peg in my round hole. And I just like a surgeon tends to recommend surgery, but not always. I had a surgeon helping me with my broken wrist, and I went back because it was so painful, and he did not recommend surgery. I never had surgery. So he's an ethical one, right?
Yes.
Oh, you don't need surgery, Jill. Just do this and that, and you're healing well. And get a hammer from your garage and go like this and develop the soft tissues, blah, blah, blah. He was perfect, right?
Great.
Anyway, but information,
Yes.
and we're to that susceptibility again. If
Yes.
we disempower ourselves with these so-called experts, which some people are prone to do, then you feel like you're giving up your authority the minute you walk in a doctor's office or a healer's office. And you guys, that's not ideal. They're human too. So if it doesn't sound logical, if how they're describing how you are in the situation you're in, if that doesn't track, and you can be logical about it, or like you said, Janet, bring someone with you that is maybe better at that skill of, well, if that were true, wouldn't it be painful all the time? And not being rude about it, just really listening. Your theory, I don't think that fits because it doesn't do it in this situation, in that situation, in that situation. You see what I'm saying? Right? So if someone says you have throat cancer and you clear your throat, but it's actually only after lunch. It's never after dinner and it's only after breakfast. So if it was a tumor or cancer or I needed, acid reflux, then wouldn't it be after every meal?
Mhm.
It's testing their theory. That's all
Mhm.
they have. They may have data, but it's a theory about why the data shows what it shows and why your symptoms are what they are.
Mhm.
You can be collaborative in those environments, and that doesn't come naturally to you, then bring someone who can.
Well, and I don't think it's kind of fair to ourselves to think that we can be thinking when we have a condition going on that has, like, how are we going to be our best selves in those moments?
Mm.
But we all have people that are, like, I'm that for people. Take
Yes, you
me.
totally are.
I was like, uh-huh.
What they
Really? Okay.
what they say,
I'm not
I don't
sure,
know about
and I'm kind of, but if for myself, I've got other things going on that I'm navigating. So, and I love that word, and that came up, I didn't say it, but collaboration. Collaborative, healing, welling, returning to wholeness
Yeah,
is really the model that works well because I have information that nobody else has,
yeah,
and I don't know what's important sometimes. And, we've talked about that authority imbalance. It's like, no.
it's a
And
big one.
that for susceptibility, wow.
I feel like we've given a lot of tools here to Janet. Yeah, you too?
I
So
do.
I heard self-awareness, really improving and being more open to the current inventory of areas where you recognize you are susceptible. We all have susceptibilities, right? So having more awareness and clarity and maybe even reflection about, I noticed there's a pattern here. Like, I mean, I literally, before we started this episode, I had not thought about the fact that the three main times in my 55 years that I've said yes to something that I was like, that was expensive and I did not get what I thought I was going to get. My susceptibility um, heightened, i.e., my walls went down, and my judgment, my good judgment, actually started to soften when they complimented me.
Mm,
That is I'm kind of buzzing just on that. Like, I'm very susceptible to flattery. That is so good to know, right? It's really good to know. Um, and then I heard so many things today. I'm just going to try and recap the ones I'm thinking of. I loved it when you talked about the fact that this isn't about finding good guys and bad guys, you guys. That's a lot of guys. This isn't about ill intent and good intent because sometimes good intent doesn't offer solutions and sometimes ill intent actually works, right? For a whole bunch of reasons that are very complicated, right? We are very susceptible in things where the need is higher and the solution is more difficult. Um, I guess I would add one new little data point. Just because somebody is selling something doesn't mean it's automatically lesser in value than something that's free or lower price. And inversely, just because something is very expensive does not mean it's a better benefit or a more high-powered solution. Price and solution, they're independent of each other. Somebody can give you a free gift that changes your life. And somebody can charge you the most you've ever paid, and it does nothing for you.
Mhm. Yeah. And just as a I will say it and will say it probably for my entire existence here, our inner guidance is stellar. And susceptibility means that it's not as active or accessible
Or it's ignored.
or ignored. That's right, but it
All the
doesn't mean
times
it's
people say, I should have known. I knew it. I knew it. And some people say, I didn't know. What did I miss? They were really good at what they did, and you wanted to believe them.
well, and that also is an inventory point to go back and look when you really knew something was amiss, because
Mhm.
that skill set gets better and that gets developed when we give attentiveness to it
Mhm.
and when because we're building muscles. It's the first rationalized thought.
I would also add in, I hope all of us have just truth tellers in our lives. That when we are really excited about something, they may feel a lot like a wet blanket, but they're just like, "Huh, so how much is it?" And you're just like, it's only blank, blank, blank." And they're just like, "Huh." And you can feel they're not as excited about you are.
Yeah.
It is so easy to go, "Well, I don't want to talk to you. You're just being negative." But what if they are actually picking up on something that you are missing, right? And you guys, this health, career, monetary, improve monetary position, romance, relationship, friendship, connection, trying to resolve loneliness. There's so many parts of humanity that make us feel susceptible because we feel like we could be doing better, or we need to be doing better in certain areas. So the susceptibility just doesn't go away, but handling it in a more self-loving and self-honoring way is available.
Absolutely. And we do get better at it. I know I have, for
Me too.
sure.
Me too. I
Yeah.
don't go to Parade of Homes anymore. Yes, I'm working. No, I will never do a free coaching call. I don't have the only doTERRA I have in my house is lemon oil because it reduces sticky residue from like receipts and stickers. But that's just me. Those of you that love it, I'm happy for you. And if that keeps nobody gets sick in my house, I love that for you. Love it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, thanks, Jill. I think we offered a lot today, and I hope people find deeper levels of themselves and
Mm.
can really honor that and, let more judgment out of the way and just be here in a more happy state, really. It's like, it's okay. It's really okay. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for liking and sharing and subscribing. Janet, thank you so much. I keep hearing from people in my community that where I have the membership and stuff, like, oh my God, I love if somebody said on the open house the other day, if you guys aren't listening to Jill and Janet, you are literally missing out. There's so many good things. It's a great conversation. They're great with each other. They don't always agree. And with this one person, those are her favorite conversations that we have when we don't agree with each other. She
Yeah.
because she loves how we handle it.
Uh-huh.
We don't get angry. We're
Yeah.
not diminishing or even wanting to downgrade the other person and their opinion and their ideas.
Oh, I
And
love that too. It's like I get to love somebody more when
yeah.
I can really see and know and not be threatened. It's so great.
And I want to pitch you a little bit too, or maybe a lot of it. You guys, if you have an item in your life of really any kind where you're like, am I missing something with this?
Mhm,
I highly encourage, strongly recommend a session with Janet.
mm,
You are the most loving,
mm,
objective,
mm,
wise person in a sea of just bad ideas and bad advice. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this with you. I love that about you. You have skills I don't have. You have wisdom I don't have. You have methods and ways of thinking that are different than mine. I feel like you and I are very complementary, but I love what you do.
mm. Thank you, Jill. Oh, thank you so much. It's, um it's reciprocated. I have that much love and honor and respect for your
Thank you
gifts
so
too,
much.
and, yeah, I love that we get to do this, and it
Yeah.
is there's nothing better than assisting people on their journey and
Yes.
increasing the quality of their life. Oh,
Oh my
the
God.
joy factor, the
Yeah.
love factor, there's nothing better than that.
A higher quality life is what it's all about because the quantity we don't have control over.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Thanks,
Thanks,
Jill.
everybody.
Bye.